Jake Mitchell stared out the window of the Aurora and tried not to think about how far from home he was. The stars looked different here, billions of miles from Earth. He pressed his hand against the cold glass and watched the alien planet growing larger below them. "Stop worrying," Sam Chen said, patting Jake on the shoulder. Sam was his best friend and the only reason Jake felt even slightly calm. "It's going to be fine. First contact with aliens. This is history." Jake nodded but didn't feel convinced. He was just an engineer. He fixed broken machines and made sure the life support systems kept working. He wasn't supposed to be part of a diplomatic mission. But when Captain Lisa Warren asked for volunteers to stay on the ship during the landing, Jake had raised his hand too slowly. Now he was stuck going down to meet actual aliens. The planet was called Noctera. It looked dark, even though their sensors said it was daytime down there. The whole surface seemed to be covered in black stone and silver metal. No green anywhere. No blue oceans. Just darkness and strange lights. "All crew members report to the medical bay," a voice said over the speakers. "Mandatory health screening before landing." Jake followed the others down the corridor. Dr. Kevin Palmer was waiting with his medical equipment. He scanned each person quickly, checking their blood and vital signs. When it was Jake's turn, he noticed Dr. Palmer frown at his screen. "Your medication levels are good," Dr. Palmer said. "Make sure you take your pills on schedule. We don't know how the aliens might react to unusual human biology." Jake nodded. He had been taking medication for his condition since he was 25. It wasn't serious, just something that required daily pills to keep his blood chemistry balanced. Most people didn't even know about it. The Aurora landed smoothly on a wide platform made of black stone. Through the windows, Jake could see tall buildings that looked like they were made of crystal and shadow. Everything seemed designed to be beautiful and slightly scary at the same time. Captain Warren gathered everyone in the main corridor. She was a tough woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Remember," she said, "we're guests here. Be polite, be careful, and stay together." The airlock opened. Jake took a deep breath and stepped out onto an alien world for the first time in his life. The air felt cold and smelled like metal and something sweet he couldn't identify. A group of tall figures stood waiting for them. They looked almost human, but not quite. Their skin was pale, almost white. Their eyes were too large and reflected light like a cat's eyes. They wore long robes made of dark fabric that seemed to move even when there was no wind. One of them stepped forward. "Welcome to Noctera," he said in perfect English. His voice was smooth and cold. "I am Commander Zara. The Queen is eager to meet you." Jake noticed something strange. The aliens kept tilting their heads slightly, almost like they were sniffing the air. Their nostrils flared when the humans walked past. It made him uncomfortable. They were led through streets of black stone toward a massive building that looked like it was made entirely of crystal. It caught the dim light and threw it back in strange colors. Inside, everything was cold and beautiful. The walls seemed to glow from within. There were no mirrors anywhere, Jake noticed. No reflective surfaces except the crystal itself. The throne room was enormous. Hundreds of the pale aliens stood along the walls, watching silently. At the far end, on a throne made of black stone and silver metal, sat the Queen. Jake's breath caught in his throat. She was beautiful in a way that made him want to look away and stare at the same time. Her hair was long and silver, flowing down her back like liquid metal. Her eyes were bright red, not the reflected light of the others, but actually glowing red. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of darkness itself. "I am Queen Velrisa," she said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "You are the first humans to visit our world. We are honored." Captain Warren stepped forward and gave a small bow. "Thank you for inviting us, Your Majesty. We hope this is the beginning of friendship between our peoples." Queen Velrisa smiled. Her teeth were very white and very sharp. "Indeed, please join us for a meal. We have much to discuss." They were led to a long table made of the same black stone. Food was brought out, but Jake noticed the aliens didn't eat any of it. They only watched as the humans carefully tried the strange dishes. Instead, the aliens drank from crystal goblets filled with a dark red liquid. It looked thick, almost like syrup. Jake's stomach turned. He had a terrible feeling about what that liquid might be. After the meal, Queen Velrisa stood. "I would like to greet each of you personally," she said. "It is our custom." She walked slowly along the line of humans. When she reached each person, she paused and leaned close, breathing in deeply. Jake watched as her eyes flickered with interest at some people and showed nothing at others. Captain Warren she studied for a long moment. Dr. Palmer made her tilt her head curiously. Sam Chen got only a brief glance, then she reached Jake. The Queen stopped completely. Her red eyes widened. She leaned in close to Jake's neck and took a long, slow breath. Her whole body went still. The entire room fell silent. Jake felt frozen. He couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The Queen circled him slowly like a predator studying prey. She breathed in again, her eyes growing brighter. A strange expression crossed her face, something between hunger and amazement. "Remarkable," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but everyone in the room heard it. "In 3,000 years, I have never encountered anything quite like this." She reached out and touched Jake's arm gently. Her fingers were ice cold. "What is your name?" Jake," he stammered. "Jake Mitchell." "Jake Mitchell," she repeated as if tasting his name. "You are extraordinary." She stepped back and addressed Captain Warren. "I must make a request. I would like Jake Mitchell to remain on Noctera as part of our cultural exchange. We have much to learn from each other." Captain Warren looked shocked. "That's highly irregular. We would need to discuss this with Earth first." "Of course," Queen Velrisa said smoothly. "He will have 24 hours to decide. But I do hope he chooses to stay. I believe Jake Mitchell has much to offer our people." That night, Jake stood in his quarters on the Aurora and stared out at the dark city below. His hands were shaking. He didn't understand what had happened. Why had the Queen reacted to him that way? What made him different from everyone else? Sam came to visit him. "Are you okay?" his friend asked. "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "Did you see the way she looked at me? Like I was the most interesting thing in the universe. Or maybe like I was dinner." Sam didn't laugh. "Captain Warren thinks they're vampires. Real vampires. That red liquid they were drinking? Blood." Jake felt his stomach drop. "And she wants me to stay here?" "The choice is yours," Sam said. "But Jake, something about you got her attention. Maybe it's important. Maybe you're important." After Sam left, Jake took out his medication bottle and stared at it. Dr. Palmer had said his blood chemistry was unusual because of these pills. Was that why the Queen noticed him? Was his blood somehow different? He looked out the window again at the alien city. Somewhere down there, an ancient vampire queen was thinking about him, wanting him to stay. The thought terrified him, but it also made him curious. For the first time in his life, someone thought Jake Mitchell was extraordinary. Even if that someone was an alien vampire who probably wanted to drink his blood, he had 24 hours to decide his future. 24 hours to choose between going home to his safe, normal life, or staying on an alien world with creatures that drank blood and looked at him like he was the most precious thing they'd ever seen. Jake took his medication and tried to sleep. But all he could see were those glowing red eyes staring at him with hunger and fascination. Tomorrow he would have to make the most important choice of his life. Jake decided to stay. It was not an easy choice, but Captain Warren told him that this could help humanity build a good relationship with the Sanguis. Besides, Jake was curious. What made his blood so special? He needed to know. The Aurora left 3 days later. Sam hugged Jake hard before leaving. Dr. Palmer promised to check on him regularly through video calls. Captain Warren told him he could come home anytime he wanted. But as Jake watched the ship lift into the purple sky, he felt very alone. The Sanguis gave Jake beautiful rooms in the Crystal Palace. He had a bedroom bigger than his entire apartment on Earth, with windows that showed the whole city. He had a bathroom with a pool-sized tub. He even had a small kitchen, though he wondered if anyone else in this building even knew what food was. For the first 2 days, Jake barely saw anyone. Food appeared at his door 3 times a day. A quiet servant came to clean his rooms, but no one talked to him. No one explained anything. He was starting to feel like a prisoner in a beautiful cage. On the 3rd day, Commander Zara came to visit. She looked less friendly than before. Her dark eyes studied Jake like he was a puzzle she did not want to solve. "The Queen will see you tonight," she said. "You will dine with her privately. Dress nicely." That evening, Jake put on the best clothes he had brought. They seemed plain compared to the elegant outfits the Sanguis wore. A servant led him through the palace down hallways that seemed to go on forever, until they reached a door made of dark wood. Inside was a room that looked like a library. Books lined every wall from floor to ceiling. In the center was a table set for 2. Queen Velrisa stood by a large window looking out at the stars. She turned when Jake entered. Jake Mitchell, she said, and her voice was warmer than he expected. Thank you for agreeing to stay. Please sit. Jake sat down carefully. His plate had real food on it, human food. Her plate was empty except for a crystal glass with that dark red liquid. I know you have questions, Velrisa said, and I know you are afraid. Let me be honest with you. Yes, we are what you might call vampires. We drink blood to survive, but we are not monsters. Jake found his voice. Then what are you? We are an old species, she said. We evolved on a world where drinking blood was the best way to survive. Over thousands of years, we learned to do it ethically. We have donors who give blood willingly. We have treaties with other species. We do not hunt. We do not kill. But you want my blood, Jake said. That is why I am here. Velrisa smiled slightly. Your blood is unique, Jake. When we drink blood, we do not just taste it. We sense things, emotions, health, memories sometimes. I have tasted the blood of 50 different species across this galaxy. Each one is different, but yours is something I have never encountered before. What makes it special? Jake asked. He was scared but also fascinated. The Queen stood and walked slowly around the table. The medication you take. It creates unusual proteins in your blood. When I sensed them, I felt something remarkable. Clarity, peace, focus. It was like drinking pure starlight. Jake felt sick. So I am a drug to you. That is what you are saying. No, Velrisa said firmly. She sat down across from him, and for the first time her expression looked almost sad. I did not ask you to stay because of what your blood could do for me. I asked you to stay because in 3,000 years I have felt very alone. And when I sensed you, I felt hope. I felt curiosity. I felt something new. Jake looked into her red eyes. They did not look cruel. They looked tired, ancient, lonely. You have lived for 3,000 years? He asked quietly. Yes, and I will live for thousands more. Do you know what that means? I have watched friends grow old and die. I have seen entire civilizations rise and fall. I have forgotten more than most people will ever learn. Immortality is not a gift, Jake. It is a curse of endless goodbyes. They talked for hours that night. Velrisa told Jake about her empire, about the 12 star systems she ruled. She told him about other species she had met, some peaceful, some dangerous. She told him about the Sanguis way of life, how they had eliminated war and poverty by working together over centuries. Jake told her about Earth, about humans and their short lives full of urgency and passion. He told her about his work as an engineer, how he loved fixing things that were broken. He told her about his condition and how the medication had given him a normal life. As the night went on, Jake realized something surprising. He liked her. She was strange and alien and ancient, but she was also intelligent and thoughtful. She asked good questions. She listened carefully to his answers. Finally, as the first moon began to set, Velrisa asked the question Jake had been waiting for. Would you allow me to taste your blood? Not as a meal, as a gesture of trust. I want to understand you better, and this is how my people communicate deeply. Jake's heart pounded. Will it hurt? No, I promise you it will not hurt. Jake thought about it. This was why he was here. This was the whole point. And strangely, he trusted her. He held out his arm. Velrisa moved closer. She took his hand gently in hers. Her skin was cool but not cold. She brought his wrist to her lips. Jake felt a tiny pinch, no worse than a needle. Then warmth spread through his arm. The experience was strange. Jake felt dizzy, but not in a bad way. He felt like he was floating. And somehow he could sense Velrisa too. He felt her surprise, her wonder, her deep loneliness. He felt how long she had lived, how heavy that weight was. When she pulled away, her eyes were bright with tears. Real tears. Jake had not known vampires could cry. What did you sense? Jake asked. His voice felt far away. I felt your determination, Velrisa said softly. Your hope. Your loyalty to your friends. Your curiosity about the universe. I felt what it means to be human. To live a short life, but fill it with meaning. It was beautiful, Jake. You are beautiful. Jake felt his face get hot. No one had ever called him beautiful before. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Velrisa met often. Sometimes they talked in her library. Sometimes she showed him around the city. She introduced him to other Sanguis, and Jake learned that most of them were kind and curious. Commander Zara even started to warm up to him a little. Dr. Palmer called Jake regularly. During one call, the doctor looked excited. Jake, I have been studying your blood. The combination of your natural biochemistry and that medication creates something truly unique. No other species in the galaxy has this exact combination. Earth's crazy, messy evolution created you. So I am special just because of random chance? Jake asked. That is what makes it amazing, Dr. Palmer said. You are not special because you are strong or smart or powerful. You are special because you are the product of Earth's unique path. You are proof that humanity's messy, chaotic way of evolving created something no one else has. Jake thought about that. He had always felt ordinary, average, forgettable. But maybe being ordinary human was actually extraordinary in a galaxy full of aliens. One evening, Velrisa took Jake to her private observatory at the top of the palace. They stood under a dome of stars, watching the galaxy turn slowly above them. I have a confession, Velrisa said. Other Sanguis nobles want to meet you. They have heard about your unique blood. Some of them want to make deals with Earth. They are offering your government advanced technology in exchange for access to you. Jake felt cold.
Access to me?
Like I am some kind of product? I will not let that happen, Velrisa said fiercely. You are a person, not a commodity. But I wanted you to know, Earth's government is considering the offers. Jake stared up at the stars. Somewhere up there, people on Earth were deciding his future without asking him. The next day, Captain Warren sent Jake an urgent message. The human government wanted to make a deal with the Sanguis. They wanted Jake to stay permanently on Noctera and provide regular blood samples. In exchange, the Sanguis would give Earth medical technology that could save millions of lives. Jake read the message 3 times. They were asking him to give up his freedom to save lives. It was not really a choice at all, or was it? Jake sat in his room for a long time staring at the message from Earth. They wanted him to agree to stay forever. They made it sound like a choice, but it did not feel like one. How could he say no when millions of lives were at stake? A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. It was Sam. His friend had come back to Noctera with the human delegation. Sam hugged Jake hard. This is wrong, Sam said angrily. They are treating you like a thing, not a person. People back home are upset about it. There are protests. Not everyone agrees with this deal. That made Jake feel a little better. At least some people cared about him as a person. The formal meeting happened the next day. The human delegation sat on one side of a long table. Sanguis Nobilis sat on the other side. Queen Velrisa sat at the head of the table. Jake sat next to her, feeling small and out of place. The head of the human delegation was a woman named Carol Peters. She was a politician who smiled too much. She explained the deal in a voice that sounded cheerful but felt cold. Jake would stay on Noctera. He would give blood samples twice a week. The Sanguis would give Earth advanced medical technology. Everyone would benefit, everyone except me, Jake said quietly. Carol Peters looked at him like he was a child who did not understand. Jake, this technology could cure diseases that kill millions every year. You would be a hero. A hero with no freedom, Jake said. Before Carol could respond, a Sanguis noble stood up. His name was Lord Victor, and he looked even older than Velrisa. He spoke with a voice that made Jake think of ice. The human is correct. This arrangement is unsatisfactory. We do not want mere samples. We want full access. The human should be bonded to a Sanguis household. Properly controlled, Jake felt his anger rising. He stood up and his chair scraped loudly against the floor. Everyone looked at him. No, Jake said. His voice was shaking but loud. I am not a thing to be traded or controlled. I am a person. And if no one in this room can understand that, then this meeting is over. Carol Peters looked shocked. Lord Victor looked amused. But Velrisa smiled. It was a small smile, but it was proud. Before anyone could say more, Commander Zara burst into the room. Her face was urgent. My queen, she said. Lord Victor has moved ships into position around the palace. He is threatening to take the human by force if you do not agree to his terms. The room exploded into noise. Human delegates shouted in alarm. Sanguis nobles argued with each other. Jake just stood there, realizing that his existence had started a war. Velrisa stood slowly. When she spoke, her voice cut through all the noise like a blade. Victor, you forget yourself. Jake Mitchell is under my personal protection. Any attempt to take him will be considered an act of war against the crown. Lord Victor smiled coldly. My queen, you have become too attached to this human. You are allowing your judgment to be clouded. Many nobles agree with me. Perhaps it is time for new leadership. Jake understood what was happening. This was not really about him. This was about power. Victor and his allies wanted to challenge Velrisa, and Jake was just the excuse they needed. That night, Velrisa moved Jake to a secure part of the palace. Guards stood outside his door. Commander Zara was organizing the Queen's loyal forces. Civil war seemed inevitable. Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about the situation. People were going to fight because of him, maybe die because of him, all because his blood had unusual proteins. Around midnight, Jake made a decision. He left his room, sneaking past the guards. He found Dr. Palmer in the human delegation quarters. "I need your help," Jake said. "Can we make a synthetic version of my blood? Something that has the same properties but does not require me to give actual samples?" Dr. Palmer thought about it. "Maybe, if we can identify the exact proteins and synthesize them. It would take time and cooperation between human and Sanguis medical teams. But it might be possible." "Then that is what we do," Jake said. "If I can give them what they want without giving up my freedom, everyone wins." The next morning, Jake asked for a public audience with all the nobles and the human delegation. Velrisa tried to talk him out of it, worried about his safety, but Jake insisted. They gathered in the great hall. Jake stood in the center, feeling hundreds of eyes on him. He took a deep breath. "I have a proposal," he said. His voice echoed in the huge space. "You all want access to my blood. Earth wants technology. Nobody wants a war. So here is what I suggest. I will work with Dr. Palmer and Sanguis scientists to create a synthetic version of my blood properties. We will make enough for everyone. No one will be left out, but I have conditions." Lord Victor laughed. "The human makes demands?" "Yes," Jake said firmly. "First, I remain free. I am not property. I am not bonded to anyone. I choose where I go and what I do. Second, Earth is accepted as a full partner in the galactic community, not as a resource, not as a curiosity, as equals. Third, any other humans who want to participate in exchanges with alien species must be treated with the same respect." The room was silent. Then Carol Peters stood up. "And what does Earth get in return?" she asked. "Earth gets a real alliance," Jake said. "Not a trade deal. Not a transaction. A partnership. Humans and Sanguis working together, sharing knowledge, learning from each other. Is that not worth more than just medical technology?" Velrisa stood and walked to stand beside Jake. She looked at her nobles with eyes that glowed with authority. "I support this proposal," she said. "Jake is right. We have been thinking of humans as resources, but they are people. They deserve respect. I will work with him on this project personally." Lord Victor looked angry, but other nobles were nodding. They could see the wisdom in Jake's plan. A few hours later, after much discussion, they reached an agreement. The synthesis project would begin immediately. Jake would remain free. Humans and Sanguis would establish a formal alliance. That evening, Jake stood on the balcony of his room, exhausted but relieved. Velrisa joined him. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the 3 moons rise. "Why did you do it?" Velrisa asked quietly. "After everything, after being treated so badly, why did you offer to help?" Jake thought about his answer. "Because that is what humans do. We find solutions, we adapt. When the universe says no, we find a way to make it say yes. And because I believe you truly want this to work, you want something better than just taking from others." Velrisa was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She laughed. It was a real laugh, full of surprise and joy. "You are remarkable, Jake Mitchell. In 3,000 years, I have never met anyone quite like you. Not because of your blood, because of who you are." Jake felt his face get warm. They stood close together, and for the first time since arriving on this alien world, Jake felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. The work would be hard. The project would take time. But Jake was an engineer. He knew how to fix things. And maybe, just maybe, he could help fix the gap between 2 very different species. The laboratory was the most advanced place Jake had ever seen. Machines hummed quietly, displaying data in languages both human and alien. Dr. Palmer worked at one station while a Sanguis scientist named Dr. Nina worked at another. Jake moved between them, helping where he could, learning as he went. The work was fascinating. They had to break down every component of Jake's blood, identify the unique proteins, and figure out how to create them artificially. It was like solving the most complex puzzle Jake had ever seen. Velrisa visited the lab often. Sometimes she just watched them work. Other times she asked questions or offered suggestions. She knew more about biochemistry than Jake had expected. She had, after all, been studying blood for 3,000 years. As weeks passed, Jake found himself enjoying the work. He had always liked fixing things, solving problems. This was just a bigger problem than usual, and working with teams from two different species was exciting. Humans and Sanguis thought differently, and when they combined their ideas, amazing things happened. Jake also spent more time with Velrisa outside the lab. She showed him the history of her people through old records and artifacts. She told him stories about civilizations that had existed before humans even evolved. She shared memories that were older than Jake's entire species. In return, Jake told her about human life. He showed her pictures of Earth, told her about music and movies and art. He explained human emotions, human dreams, human fears. Velrisa listened to everything with intense interest. One evening, they sat in her library again. Velrisa looked thoughtful. "You know what makes humans special to me?" she said. "It is not your blood. It is your urgency. You know you have limited time, so you fill every moment with meaning. I have lived for 3,000 years, and sometimes I feel like I have wasted most of them." "I forgot how precious time is," Jake smiled. "You know what makes Sangui special to me? You have seen everything, and you still find new things interesting. You could be bored with the universe, but you are not. That takes real strength." They looked at each other across the table. Something had changed between them over these weeks. It was more than friendship now. Jake felt drawn to her in a way he had never felt drawn to anyone. And from the way she looked at him, he thought maybe she felt the same. But Jake also felt scared. How could anything develop between them? She would live forever. He would be old and dead in just a few decades. It seemed impossible. In the lab, progress was good. They successfully identified all the key proteins. They even managed to synthesize small amounts. But something was wrong. When Dr. Nina tested the synthetic blood on herself, she said it worked but felt different. "It has the right chemical structure," she explained, "but it lacks something. When I taste real blood, I sense the life behind it, the experiences, the emotions. The synthetic version is empty. It works, but it is like eating food with no flavor." Jake understood. They could copy the molecules, but they could not copy what made him human. They could not copy his life, his memories, his spirit. Still, the synthetic blood was functional. They could produce it in large quantities. Most Sanguis would be satisfied with it, even if it was not as good as the real thing. Sam visited often during this time. He had decided to stay on Noctera too, working as an engineer for the joint human Sanguis construction projects. Seeing his friend made Jake feel less alone. One day, Sam caught Jake staring at Velrisa as she worked in the lab. "You like her?" Sam said quietly. It was not a question. Jake did not deny it. "Is that crazy? She is an alien vampire queen who has lived for 3,000 years. "Maybe," Sam said with a grin. "But I see how she looks at you too. And I do not think she looks at you like you are just a human. She looks at you like you are special to her." Jake wanted to believe that, but he was scared to hope. Commander Zara had become friendlier over the weeks. One day she approached Jake privately. "I owe you an apology," she said stiffly. "When you first arrived, I thought you were a threat to my queen. I thought you would hurt her or use her. I was wrong. You have been good for her. I have not seen her this happy in centuries." Jake was surprised. "Thank you. That means a lot. Take care of her," Zara said. "She is stronger than anyone I know, but she is also more fragile than she shows. She has lost so much over her long life. Do not become another loss." The words stayed with Jake. He was mortal. Eventually he would die. Would being with Velrisa just hurt her more in the end? That night Jake could not sleep. He went to the observatory where he and Velrisa often met. She was already there, standing under the stars. "Could not sleep either?" she asked without turning around. "Too much thinking," Jake said, joining her. They stood in silence for a while. Then Velrisa spoke. "Jake, I need to tell you something. I have lived for 3,000 years. I have had relationships before. Some were good. Some were painful. All of them ended because everyone I care about eventually leaves or dies. I thought I had gotten used to that. I thought I could keep people at a distance and protect myself from the pain." Jake's heart was pounding. He waited for her to continue. "But then you came here. You, with your human stubbornness and your determination and your kindness. You made me feel something I had not felt in centuries. Hope, joy. Connection? And that terrifies me because I know you will not be here forever. In a few decades you will be old. In less than a century you will be gone. And I will still be here living forever, missing you. Jake turned to face her. Her red eyes were bright with unshed tears. I know, he said softly. I have been thinking about that too. The time difference between us seems impossible. But Velrisa, I would rather have a short time with you than a long time without you, even if it hurts later. Even if it is hard. You have made me see the universe in ways I never imagined. You have made me feel things I never thought I would feel. Is that not worth something even if it cannot last forever? Velrisa reached out and took his hand. Her cool fingers wrapped around his warm ones. You have taught me something important, she said. You have taught me that the value of something is not measured by how long it lasts. It is measured by how deeply it is felt. I would rather have 50 years of real connection with you than another 1,000 years of loneliness. Jake pulled her closer. They stood together under the alien stars. Two beings from different worlds finding something neither expected. When they kissed, Jake felt that same connection he had felt when she had tasted his blood. A deep understanding. A perfect fit. The next morning, news came from Earth that changed everything. The message was marked urgent. Jake read it with growing alarm. Lord Victor and his allies had not given up. They were spreading propaganda, saying that the synthetic blood project was a failure. They were saying that Velrisa was too weak to rule effectively. They were gathering support for a challenge to her authority. If Victor succeeded in his rebellion, one of his first acts would be to seize Jake by force. The tentative peace they had achieved was falling apart. Jake looked at the message, then at Velrisa. They had finally found something real between them. He was not going to let Victor destroy it. It was time to fight back. But Jake was not a warrior. He was an engineer. He would have to find a different way to win. Jake spent the entire night thinking. By morning, he had a plan. It was risky and maybe a little crazy, but it was the most human solution he could think of. He found Velrisa in her private chambers. She looked tired and worried. Reports were coming in from across the Empire. Lord Victor had more support than they had realized. Some systems were threatening to break away if Velrisa did not step down. I have an idea, Jake said, but you are not going to like it at first. Velrisa looked at him. Tell me. Victor and his allies do not really want my blood. They want power. They are using me as an excuse to challenge you. So we take away their excuse. I will offer to meet with them, to share my blood with them directly, so they can experience what makes it special, not the chemicals. The life behind it. Absolutely not, Velrisa said immediately. They could hurt you. Or worse, they could bond you to them against your will. I will not risk you. Listen to me, Jake said. When you tasted my blood, what did you feel? You felt my humanity, right? My determination, my hope, my stubbornness. If the rebel nobles feel that too, maybe they will understand. Maybe they will see that humans are not just resources. We are people, partners. Velrisa was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. If we do this, we do it publicly. In the Great Hall. With witnesses. And Commander Zara will have her best guards there. At the first sign of danger, we stop. The message went out across the Empire. Jake Mitchell was inviting the rebel nobles to a public demonstration. He would share his blood freely so they could understand what made it special. Lord Victor accepted immediately. He probably thought it was a trap, or maybe he thought he could use the event to seize Jake. Either way, he agreed to come. The day of the gathering, the Great Hall was packed. Sanguis nobles filled one side. Human delegates filled another. Guards stood at every entrance. In the center of the hall, a single chair waited for Jake. Jake walked to the chair, trying not to show how nervous he was. Sam gave him a thumbs up from the crowd. Dr. Palmer looked worried but supportive. Velrisa stood on her throne, watching everything with glowing eyes. Lord Victor stepped forward first. He was tall and intimidating, with pale skin and eyes that looked almost black. He smiled at Jake, but it was not a friendly smile. So, human, Victor said. You offer your blood freely. How generous. Or how foolish. Neither, Jake said. I am offering understanding. You want to know what makes my blood special? I will show you. But first I want you to know something. When a sanguis tastes blood, you sense the person behind it, right? Their emotions, their memories, their essence. Yes, Victor said slowly. What of it? Then you are about to understand what it means to be human. Really understand it. And I think that understanding will change everything. Jake held out his wrist. Victor's eyes narrowed, suspicious, but he stepped forward and took Jake's hand. When he bit down gently and tasted Jake's blood, his expression changed completely. Victor stumbled back, his eyes wide. He looked shocked, confused, and something else. Moved. One by one, other rebel nobles came forward. Each tasted Jake's blood. Each had the same reaction. Some looked amazed. Some looked thoughtful. One noble actually started crying. After the last noble had participated, Jake stood up. He felt dizzy from the blood loss, but Dr. Palmer had given him supplements beforehand. He would be okay. "Now you know," Jake said to the assembled nobles. "You felt what I felt. My love for my friends. My fear of the unknown. My determination to make things better. My hope for the future. That is what makes my blood special. Not just the chemicals. The life behind it. And every human has that. Every human has a story, has dreams, has value. We are not resources. We are people." Lord Victor spoke, and his voice was different now. Softer. "I felt your mortality, your awareness that life is short. It made every moment feel precious. I had forgotten that feeling. In my thousands of years, I had forgotten the value of urgency, of making each day matter." Another noble stood. "I felt your curiosity, your desire to understand us even when we treated you poorly, your willingness to find solutions instead of starting fights. These are not common qualities even among sanguis." A third noble spoke. "I understand now why our queen values this human. It is not about control or possession. It is about connection, about learning from each other." Jake looked at Velrisa. She was smiling. A real, genuine smile. Lord Victor knelt. It was a shocking gesture. He knelt before Jake and Velrisa both. "I was wrong," Victor said. "I thought humans were just another species to use. But you have shown me something valuable. You have shown me what we lost over our long lives: passion, urgency, the ability to see each moment as precious. I withdraw my challenge. The queen was right to protect you." The other nobles agreed. The rebellion was over. Not through force, but through understanding. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The Sanguis Empire and Earth signed a formal alliance treaty. It was not based on trade or exploitation. It was based on mutual respect and shared learning. The synthetic blood project was completed. It was made freely available to all Sanguis who wanted it. But many nobles requested to participate in a new program. Human volunteers would share blood with Sanguis partners, not as servants but as cultural ambassadors. Each side would learn from the other. Jake became the first official human ambassador to the Sanguis Empire. Sam joined the diplomatic team as a technical advisor. Dr. Palmer headed the new joint medical research facility. Jake continued to share his blood with Velrisa, but now it was different. It was not about need or dependency. It was about intimacy, about the deep connection they shared. Through his blood, she experienced his life, his love, his dreams. Through their conversations and time together, he learned about her vast experience and wisdom. They both knew their time together would be limited. Jake would age and die while Velrisa continued on, but they decided that the time they had was precious enough to be worth the eventual pain. 6 months after the rebellion ended, a new ship launched from Noctera. It was called the Unity, and it was the first vessel designed and built by both humans and Sanguis working together. Its mission was to explore new star systems and establish contact with other species. Jake stood on the bridge of the Unity next to Velrisa. Sam was at the engineering station, grinning like a kid with a new toy. Dr. Palmer supervised the medical bay. Human and Sanguis crew members worked side by side throughout the ship. As the Unity prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Velrisa took Jake's hand. "Did you ever imagine this when you first arrived?" she asked. "That you would be here doing this?" Jake laughed. "Never. I thought I was just an engineer. Just an ordinary guy who fixed broken machines. I never imagined I would help fix the gap between species." "You are not ordinary, Jake Mitchell. You never were. You are proof that being human is something special. Your species may not be the strongest or the oldest or the most advanced, but you have something many species lose over time. You have the ability to adapt, to hope, to find new solutions. You have the ability to see possibilities where others see only problems." Jake squeezed her hand. "We learned that from necessity. Humans have always had to adapt to survive. Maybe that is our real gift to the galaxy. We are really good at figuring things out." The ship's engines hummed to life. Stars began to streak past the windows as they accelerated. They were heading into unknown space toward new adventures, new challenges, new discoveries. Velrisa looked at Jake with eyes full of affection. For the first time in thousands of years, she was excited about the future. Not worried about what she might lose, but eager for what she might find. And Jake, the ordinary engineer who had been chosen by an alien vampire queen, looked out at the stars with wonder. He had spent his whole life fixing things. Now he was part of something bigger. He was helping to build bridges between worlds, between species, between different ways of thinking. Sam called out from the engineering station. "Jump in 30 seconds." Jake smiled. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they faced, he knew one thing for certain. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. Not through force or superior technology, but through determination, adaptability, and the willingness to connect with others. That was the human way. Find a problem, fix it, make friends along the way, keep moving forward. As the Unity jumped to light speed and the galaxy opened before them, Jake Mitchell realized that being ordinary was never his limitation. It was his strength. Because ordinary humans with their ordinary determination and ordinary hope could do extraordinary things.